Steve Lambert, the Canadian Press, Winnipeg.
Ontario workers will be given 3 paid sick days provincial governments to allow them to take time off to self-isolate during the pandemic. Labour Minister Monty McNaughton says the program will be retroactive to April 19th. It will end on September 25th.
President.
As COVID-19 vaccines continue to reach more and more Canadians, some are wondering what level of protection they're getting for their first dose and what happens when they're waiting for that pop-up jab. Dr. Laura Saxinger, an infectious disease expert with the University of Alberta, says the level of protection we get from one dose is actually quite high, but it's not 100%.
It certainly does not make you bulletproof, but I would say the way the literature right now suggests that, from 2 or 3 weeks after your first dose, if you're going to get COVID, it's going to be a lot more like a cold, and converting COVID to a cold is kind of okay.
Experts saying the protection offered by the first dose seems to improve as the weeks go on, but they're not sure when it starts to wane. 650,000 more doses of Moderna vaccine arrived in Toronto on Wednesday and will be spread across the country. From the Global News Desk, I'm Toby Kerr.
This is Charles Adler Tonight. Once again, here is Charles Adler.
So this is happening right now. This is just coming out with, for our guest, Fatima Saeed, who's on hold. Fatima, please stay where you are. I'll be with you.
That's what this should be.
In just a few moments. She's in one of the hottest of the hot zones pandemic, and we need to talk about that. But this is just in. It's a Canadian Press story.
Uh-oh.
I've got it at the top of my Twitter feed.
Uh-oh, that makes it legit.
Hundreds of travelers tested positive for COVID-19 variants. Okay? So let's be clear. Talk about people coming in at Canadian airports. Calgary,
there's bananas in this.
Montreal, Vancouver, and Pearson in Toronto. Hundreds of travelers tested positive for COVID-19 variants since the hotel quarantines. Nobody knows how many variants were spread, but let's not kid the troops here, as my friend Laurie Goldstein would say. We don't know how many variants were spread because hundreds brought it in to the country, but let's not kid ourselves. After they left the hotel, there was a potential for spread. We just don't know how many. But who doesn't think this is risky? And for people who are constantly monitoring for the Prime Minister, the message here to him is simple. This is not partisan. These are official numbers coming from official government sources.
We see you.
This is not partisan. This is pandemic reality. And this hotel quarantine policy is risky business. Anyway, you can go to the top of my Twitter feed and see the story. Let me, at this point, go to our guest, who has been waiting patiently, and I'm mindful of the fact that she's in Ontario, where it's 11:34 right now. Fatima Saeed, thank you so much for joining us.
You start your show at 8 o'clock at fucking night. You are an old man.
Fatima, you wrote a piece over the weekend, but before we discuss the piece, and this has to do with the hottest of the hot zones in Peel, tell us a little bit about what your specific interests in journalism have been recently and how they connect with this. Well, I hate to call it a terrific piece because it's a very sad story, but it's terrific public service journalism. What have you been involved in recent months and years?
I've sort of been all over. I'm a freelance journalist. I've worked with the Toronto Star, with National Observer, which is an online publication that focuses on climate and energy issues. I've worked for The Logic, which is a business publication. I've worked with The Walrus, which is a magazine. So I've sort of been all over, and my MO, if that's the right word, is to really just fill the gaps of coverage. And I think there have been, unfortunately, journalists can't get to everything. And in a situation like the pandemic, where so much is going on, it's often hard to take a step back and look at the big picture. And I'm privileged and honored that I have the capacity to be able to do that kind of work.
So this piece is in something called The Local, and it too is on my Twitter timeline. You can find it, The Local. It's by Fatima Shaid. And the line in here, there's a quote that will stay with me for the rest of my life, and I'll ask you in a moment to tell us where the quote is from. But you cannot stop the spread of the virus if you don't stop it in Peel. And for people who don't know, Peel is this huge swath of territory. Fatima, correct me if I'm wrong, but I spent many, many years in that part of the world. And Peel is Mississauga, of course. It's Brampton and Caledon. Is there anything more to Peel? Is there anything I'm missing?
That's it. Those are the three municipalities.
Motherfucker.
Right, so who said the vast eternal truth? You cannot stop the spread of the virus if you don't stop it in Peel. Who said that?
Charles, the truth is multiple people said that, but in the story specifically, I'm quoting the mayor of Mississauga, Bonnie Crombie. But the hard truth is that no matter who you talk to in this region, everyone says a version of that statement, that this is the hardest hit region in Ontario. In fact, in the entire country, it is number 2 in the entire country when it comes to cases per 100,000 people, because it contributes so much to Ontario and Canada's economic activity. And while every other city and region across the country was able to stand still when the lockdowns happened, this region never stopped moving. It never stopped going to work. It never stopped running the engines of the province and the country. And for that reason, it suffered greatly. And everyone on the ground, whether it's a teacher, a doctor, a mayor, a random shopkeeper, will tell you that if you don't stop it here, you can't stop it anywhere.
So paint the picture for me of the kind of work that is done in Peel, the kinds of businesses.
Daimler, Chrysler, Brampton Assembly, where they build the Challengers and Chargers and 300s.
Capital of Canada, because it literally houses a huge majority of the warehouses and factories and processing plants and manufacturing sector that exists in Ontario. We're talking about 40% of Amazon packages are being processed here, 60% of trucking services begin here. Peel region is the largest producer of everything from chicken to peanut butter to ventilators. It is a hub of economic activity, of packaging and manufacturing. And we've seen that during this pandemic more vividly than ever before.
Are some of these plants running 24/7?
Yeah, I mean, think about Amazon or Canada Post. We have a huge Canada Post facility here, the second largest in the country after Vancouver. They run day and night. They have 3 different shifts, morning to night, and workers are going in and out. And you can tell when the shift changes just by the traffic on the road in those neighborhoods. They don't stop working. And we're talking about ventilator factories. We need ventilators right now in the pandemic, and they've never stopped working. It is constantly moving, constantly moving. And the workers that work here, they're exactly who you would imagine. They're low income, mostly immigrant workers who live in large multi-generational families, because housing here is extremely expensive, so they need that paycheck, but also because it's a feature of their culture. So they're supporting ailing grandparents, they're supporting young kids, they're supporting families back home, and they have to go to work. And they've been going to work ever since the pandemic was declared. They never stopped.
Do we have situations where we have, let's say, I'll just pick a number, 1,200 square foot apartments with more than 8 or 9 people living in them?
Absolutely. I mean, I can say that anecdotally. I don't have anyone on the record, but anecdotally, you have families as large as 6 to 8 people living in close quarters. And you have basements. You have basements full of international students living here who are also working and studying at the same time.
There's a lot of fucking gray areas there.
Yet. It is
You're not going to school, your visa's no good. You got to go home. But you can't get on a plane.
Community of people that have put food on their own tables during the pandemic, but also on our tables during the pandemic. And they've suffered greatly. I can't say that enough. They really have. They've suffered greatly.
Do we have a lot of hospitals in Peel?
We do not. Brampton, to give you a sense, is a population of almost 700,000 people. It has had one hospital for many, many years. You know, before the pandemic even started several months ago, earlier in 2021, the mayor of Brampton, Patrick Brown, actually declared a state of emergency in health because there were patients dying on beds in the corridor of Brampton's one and only hospital. In Mississauga, there's 2 hospitals, both on opposite ends of the city, that can only be accessed if you have a car or if you have access to public transit. Caledon doesn't even have a hospital because it is largely a rural town. So anyone who lives in Caledon who gets sick has to go to Brampton or Mississauga or worse, Toronto or somewhere else. It was an incredibly stretched, resource-stretched region, even before the pandemic began. And that's why when you talk to doctors or policymakers or Peel public health officials, they will tell you that the conditions in this region were such that when the pandemic hit, everyone knew it was going to be a disaster, and no one did anything to mitigate it.
Sorry, I'm stuck on something here, Fatima, say to help me with this. Did I hear you say that a city, Brampton, with 700,000 people, 700,000 has one hospital?
Just one hospital. It blows my mind every time I think about it too. So I totally understand why you needed to ask me that.
Well, because I'm thinking, you know, I spent many years, as everyone knows, in Winnipeg. It's one of my adopted hometowns. I got several adopted hometowns. Winnipeg is one of them. And they're right off the top of my head.
You're a draft dodger. Your name's not.
I've been to, because it's a town of about 700,000 people, and I'm just off the top of my head. I'm thinking the Victoria. I'm thinking the Grace. I'm thinking the Health Sciences. I'm thinking Concordia. I'm thinking the Misericordia. I mean, I'm probably left out some. But Brampton has one hospital. That's crazy.
You're comparing it. It is, and you're comparing it to Winnipeg. I compare it to Toronto, which is a mere 25-minute drive away, and it has 5 hospitals on one street. So
yeah, we got
compare that to a city that's 25 minutes away has only one hospital, whereas 30 minutes away has 5 just on one street.
Coincidentally, all on the same block as the consulate.
Winnipeg has a population of about the same as Brampton. So
Ontario Superior Court.
People, especially in Western Canada, a feel. And, people are listening in Saskatchewan, people are listening in Alberta. They know what 700,000 people looks like in a community, and I don't think they can imagine having only one hospital. How many people live in Mississauga?
About the same. So in total, Peel Region houses 1.5 million people. It is it is the largest region in the province. And one of the largest in the country, and
so
growing
1.5 million. I don't mean to get anal about the numbers, but I think it does give people a sense of what services and what under services. So for a region of 1.5 million people, you've got only 3 hospitals.
That's right.
Holy smokes. Fatima, I know I asked you to do one segment. Do you mind if I hang on to you for a few more minutes?
Sure. I'm right here.
All right. I wasn't sure if she was. All right. Fatima Saeed is a terrific journalist, as you can tell. She wrote a piece in The Local. It's called The Local, and it's about what we might as well think of as ground zero for the pandemic, based on what we're listening to. The hottest of the hot zones, Peel region, which involves Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon, of course, these communities just to the west of Toronto, and these communities are huge. They're cities. In a moment, we continue our conversation with Fatima Saeed right here.
Spread out.
Charles Antler tonight.
If you're driving less these days, I've got good news and bad news. Good news, you're saving on gas. Bad news, a vehicle that sits may develop issues. Good news, the all-in spring event has you covered. Receive a free seasonal tire changeover and brake inspection with the purchase of Peace of Mind maintenance service. Plus, get $20 off Mopar or Magneti Morelli brakes when you sign up for Mopar exclusives. And buy 3 tires, get the 4th free. See your Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram dealer for details. We built it, we know it.
It's about time for a refresh.
regain momentum, reconnect with your customers, reach new ones. Whether they're listening, watching, or clicking, we're here to help you press refresh on your business. CourseCreative.ca. When you call a Dell Technologies advisor, you get to talk to a real person who can provide tailored solutions that don't fit every small business, they fit yours. That's what it means to really listen. For solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor at 310 Dell.
I have more than enough on my plate. Now with separating, I have to deal with lawyers, the legal system, dividing up our lives, our children's lives, and figuring out what my life is going to look like. Can someone help me through this?
And Russell Alexander Family Lawyers, your interests are our top priority. You have better ways to spend your time and energy than to deal with forms, phone calls, and technicalities. We're here to help. Go to bookria.ca to learn more.
Rough driving conditions can chip your windshield in the blink of an eye. At Speedy Glass, we can quickly fix that chip before it turns into a crack. Hi, I'm Keith at Speedy Glass, and my team and I use unique cutting-edge technology to get you road-ready fast. Our work comes with a lifetime warranty, and it may even be free for you if you're insured. So don't ignore that chip. Book your appointment today at speedyglass.ca.
Well, I think we all know about, how physical activity is important for physical health, and that we're all very sedentary these days, and we're all getting a bit sort of fat and sloppy around the
Truck from one or house. It's a sign of a new beginning, a clean start, a breath of fresh air. When your home feels clean and happy, the people inside feel clean and happy too. We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point. Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK or visit us at 1-800-GOTJUNK.com.
You've been listening to us on the AM dial for decades, but we know parts of Toronto get in the way. Stop cursing the streetcar wires. Download the Radio Player Canada app.
So the two big revelations yesterday.
That's how we should sound all the time. Once you have the Radio Player Canada app on your phone, you can use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto to listen on the 401, the QEW,
because I plug the box in the same outlet.
The city's biggest interviews and the news that matters to you.
I plugged the Android box in the same outlet as a stereo. It doesn't like that. It doesn't like that at all. It's that.
Here's what clients are saying about the mortgage.
Winning with OLT brings out.
Doesn't like it.
First and last call should be to LG Home Comfort for your heating, cooling, and water needs. So get a tankless water heater and save on that 20-minute shower.
I need a geothermal heat pump.
Visit LGHomecomfort.ca to learn more.
Here's what clients are saying about the mortgage providers.
We had a hard-to-approve mortgage, so we needed to turn to private lending. The team at the mortgage providers helped us get that GTA home of our dreams.
The mortgage providers are able to search and locate the lowest rates and best terms available, with private lenders offering more flexibility, faster approval, and it's easier to qualify. Call the private fund specialist at 416-398-1323. That's 416-398-1323.
Visit themortgageproviders.ca.
License 10533.
With all that's going on these days, let good food help make life a little easier. Get $80 off the #1 meal kit in Canada and free contactless delivery directly to your door, with fresh, fun, and delicious recipes for every palate in.
I was thinking if I had to hide something underground, I would hide the vent tubes as fence posts. And if I wanted to get really creative, I'd put some of them curved over for intakes or whatever to make them look like the fleur-de-lis or something. You wouldn't, oh, look at that. Interesting plumbing work.
Birds are chirping. There's no better way to start the day than a good old freshly milked Jeff.
Well, you got 24 PVC pipes sticking out of your lawn. Get away from my house or I'll kill you. That's the only answer I'd have.
Jeff, good to the last.
Just 2-inch galvanized or something.
Don't get milked on car insurance. Get a better rate and save an average of $676 with rates.ca.
For some reason, they make 3 1/4. It's 3 1/2. No, wait, now I'm confused. I wrote this all down. Motherfucker. 3 1/4 inside is 3 1/2 outside. It's just ridiculous.
Fatima Saeed is an incredible journalist doing wonderful public service journalism. This paper is called The Local. I read it over the weekend. And the quotes in this are just unforgettable. Fatima, I want you to give me some context for this particular quote. Of course, we're talking about the hottest of the hot zones, Peel region in this country, Peel region in Ontario, the suburbs. They used to be called suburbs of Toronto, but really they're cities. They're Brampton, they're Caledon, and they're Mississauga.
No, they're not.
It's more than 1.5 million people who live in Peel. And this quote, "Look at stupid Peel. They're just a bunch of brown people who can't take care of each other." Please give us context for that quote.
So this was said to me by a healthcare worker who wasn't comfortable being named because she feared repercussions at work. She didn't have permission to speak publicly. And what she's getting to the heart of is that there has been incredible racism from government officials to just Ontarians in response to, rather, the high cases that Peel region has seen. Listeners should understand that Peel is incredibly diverse. As I said in the first segment, 63% of the population are visible minorities. Most of them are South Asian descent. And all of them are workers of some kind. So, at many instances, whether it was during Diwali in November, for Eid last year, Ontarians and government officials looked at the cases, looked at what was happening in Peel and said, oh yeah, this was because all those brown folks are, hanging out and doing their religious celebrations and not caring about the rules. And I can't emphasize this
those
enough.
same idiots would say that they got
true.
their faces covered too, right?
Communities of all kind, people of all kind during this pandemic, which has been over a year now, have broken the rule at some point for the sake of their mental health. They have seen people in parks. They have tried to be as careful as they can. All of that happened in Peel too. But everyone did it in a social distance way. I don't know if you saw the pictures during Diwali in November where people went to the temples. They socially distanced. They wore masks. Everything was handed through gloves, and they performed their religious rites. It was all done according to public health guidelines, and it's been incredibly unfair and frankly extremely discouraging to watch this population be taken down time and again by such comments. And I think that's the heart of what this quote was getting to. I just have to bust in because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. The healthcare worker, the one who cares deeply and servicing the people there, she doesn't think Peel is stupid. She doesn't think it's, quote, just a bunch of brown people who can't take care of each other. She's basically saying that that's how many people outside Peel see Peel. Is that the point? Yes, that's the point exactly. She's describing the perception that she's heard, both as a healthcare worker and as a resident of Peel.
How bad is it right now in terms of virus, in terms of sickness? Just if you could once again paint that.
The positivity rate here is still double that of the provinces. We're still hitting almost 20%. We don't have enough vaccines. We don't have enough testing. Workplaces have just started to get vaccines, but barely. There was an outbreak at the Canada Post facility here today. It's still very, very bad. Cases are still rising. We haven't dropped yet. And while vaccinations are slowly increasing, we'll see if that's enough and if it came at the right time. Because a lot of doctors are saying to me, Charles, that it's too late. The damage is done. The response should have come sooner. We should have protected our workers sooner with paid sick leave, with vaccines on site. Everyone's really worried and frustrated and angry at the neglect and abandonment by elected officials of this region.
Do people who are in officialdom, let's just take Queen's Park, okay, or the government is, led by the legislatures, do people there not understand that if it's happening in Peel, it's a virus, it doesn't get contained in Peel, it spreads everywhere, it even goes to the area near Queen's Park? Like, I don't mean to condescend to anyone here. I'm just asking, do people not understand the basics of spread?
I mean, you'd have to ask them that. I'm looking at the same data they're looking at. I'm looking at the same graphs they're looking at. Everyone in Peel is looking at the same information. The conclusions we're making in Peel region is that it's very obvious. You have to stop it here to stop it everywhere else. This is a region that's deeply interconnected with every other region surrounding it. It's got the airport, it's got the workforce, it's got the immigrant population. And for some reason, Queen's Park isn't seeing the same thing. We had 7 of Peel's MPPs vote against paid sick leave just earlier this week. So I'm not sure what they're seeing that I'm not seeing, but you know, from my perspective and from everyone's perspective who I spoke to for this story, it is dire, and something should have been done a long, long time ago. And in the words of Dr. Nahid Dissani, who I also quote in the story, when we look back at this pandemic, we really will look at how we failed Peel and how we could have better protected them.
Could I make this up to you? No. Is this all she wrote? Is this all we got? Is this the final shot?
Hi, this is Vinci Luzzi from WeFindYourCar.ca giving you an update on one of the
of movement for the brain, but of course the more sedentary lifestyles that people are living in many parts of the world, they are having a big impact on physical health too, aren't they?
Canada First Defense Strategy references
you think
that.
of Africa right now, we've got big infrastructure changes that are going on. We've got lots of new roads. Car ownership has gone up. We've got a public transport system that is quite different in the last 20 or so years. We've got two-wheeler vehicles, the motorbikes that are now used as taxis. We've got the three-wheeler cars, the tuk-tuks that are also used as taxis, and they are cheap. So whereas walking to school was the norm, now you can put your child in the back of a motorbike and they'll be in school in no time. If you're going to the market, you're going to
creative, Chomo. You're starting 3 minutes before the hour instead of on the hour.
So we're not working as much as we used to.
Creative. The most creative child molester in the world, the self-righteously angry, anti-drug, anti-military, anti-Negro, anti-communist, anti-any language other than English child molester. I left out wannabe hacker, that's right.
Donald McDonald. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Claudia Hammond. I will be back at the same time next week with more
portable and easy to clean. Find out more at dentalstoringsolutions.ca or call Dr. Les Priemer at 416-224-9998. That's 224-9998.
I'm Dr. Les Priemer, and I'd like to give you and your family a good night's sleep.
In 200 meters, go left onto James Street. Yeah, no, wait, left, I think. Recalculating. Hey, wow, I love you, man. Just wanted you to know that. Okay. Recalculating. Go left onto King Street. Wait, sorry, that's a stop sign. Recalculating.
You wouldn't trust AI for directions if it were under the influence. So why would you trust yourself to drive? Don't drink and drive. A message from Global News Radio 640 Toronto.
This spring on Showcase.
My patriarchal ancestor, Lawrence Rutherford, founded our town.
From the creator of The Good Place and Parks and Recreation.
Nathan, I'm calling to request a response to Mayor Chisenhall's decision to move Big Larry. I'm sorry, what?
This is the fifth time someone's crashed into that statue. It's a public safety issue.
I'm gonna get this town on my side. Yeah, there's something happening in that town. So much drama.
Rutherford Falls. New series, Thursday on Showcase. Also available on Stack TV. This is Global News. I'm Toby Kerr. The House of Commons is set to sit late into the night, or early into the morning as it were, debating legislation to put an end to the strike involving more than 1,100 dock workers at the Port of Montreal.
Labour Minister Philomena Tassi says the bill is a matter of life and death because the strike has left essential medical supplies and pharmaceuticals sitting in shipping containers as the COVID-19 pandemic rages on. Operations at the port came to a halt after the dock workers began a strike Monday morning, causing a complete shutdown at one of Canada's busiest ports. Workers at the port have been without a contract since December 2018. The back-to-work bill has been panned by opposition parties and the dock workers' union, but Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole has said his party will support it because of the potential damage a prolonged strike could cause to Canada's economy. Terry Pedro, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford had promised one of the best paid sick day programs in North America. Wednesday, his government announced workers who have been impacted by COVID-19 will be able to access just a handful of days.
Under Ontario's new COVID-19 Worker Income Protection Program, employers will be reimbursed for the employee's wage up to $200 a day for 3 days.
We want to ensure businesses survive this pandemic and that workers have jobs to come back to.
Labour Minister Monty McNaughton also announced a $500 top-up to Ottawa's Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, conditional on federal approval.
With this new additional provincial funding, workers could now receive a total of $1,000 a week for 4 weeks.
The program is to be retroactive to April 19th and end in late September. If approved by the legislature, the program is estimated to cost anywhere from $750 million to $1.5 billion. Brianna Carnegie, Global News.
Despite delays, Canada's vaccine rollout is reaching hundreds of thousands of people per day, inching the country closer to a return to normalcy. But experts say not to expect everyday life to change too soon. Dr. Lenora Saxinger, an infectious disease expert with the University of Alberta, says we still don't know whether vaccinated individuals can still spread COVID-19, so we need to be cautious until more of us get our first and second doses.
There is a theoretical concern mainly, but it's a big concern because we have a lot of transmission that people who are vaccinated, even without symptoms, if they test positive and had transmissible virus, we would regret not having some measures in place.
Saxinger expects the transmission question is the main reason we haven't seen clear guidance yet on what vaccinated individuals can and cannot do.
Yes, we have.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is on the speaker's list next month at a celebrity-laden global concert promoting vaccine equality. But NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says Trudeau's planned virtual appearance is ridiculous.
To do this show, on one hand, well, on the other, he completely caves into Big Pharma. In fact, supports and backs up Big Pharma instead of fighting them is just ludicrous. Like, what we need to do is fight to make sure that low-income countries can produce the vaccine.
Canada is one of the largest contributors to the global vaccine sharing initiative known as COVAX, but has been criticized for also taking doses from COVAX, despite having privately purchased enough vaccines to give as many as 8 doses to every Canadian. In sports, the Toronto Maple Leafs are the first Canadian team to clinch an NHL playoff spot. They do so with a 4-1 win over Montreal. Another all-Canadian matchup saw the Ottawa Senators continue their dominance of Vancouver, doubling up the Canucks 6-3. One more North Division tilt has the Edmonton Oilers beating the Winnipeg Jets 3-1. In baseball, the Blue Jays' big offseason acquisition, George Springer, finally made his debut, spending most of the year to this point on the injured list. He went 0-4 though, and the Jays get beat up by the Washington Nationals.
They purchased more since then, plus 2 booster
shots. From the Global News Desk, I'm Toby Kerr.
5 full vaccinations plus 2 boosters.
Canadian. This is Charles Adler Tonight.
Here is.
So if you're exposed, it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. The way it works is if you're exposed and you're asymptomatic, what's happening is you'll be shedding the crap that comes out of your eyes and nose, or you think you don't know it, you pretend you don't know it, because that's normal, is live virus. That's already a known fact. It's not some hypothetical theoretical. They told us that a year ago. That's why you won't be able to stop wearing masks, or, oh, 2 vaccinated people can be in the same room with their masks on. Yeah, but they're going to pass the virus to each other. They won't suffer bad symptoms, but they will spread the virus, and it will mutate more. The only viral, the virion more likely to survive is the mutated one, if you have immunity from a vaccine.
Preface in this pandemic.
Simple.
Nobody's trying to panic anybody.
It's so
That's not the issue here.
It's high school.
I don't know what people go, Chuck's trying to scare us, fearmonger. I've got to release the facts when the facts are here. If I don't do that,
the vaccine is safe, I guarantee he's going to spend 45 minutes screaming how safe the vaccine is.
That doesn't have to do that. I'm not even going to put everything in the most positive light possible. I think you count on us to give you the facts as best we know them. So here's the headline. This is, once again, it's a Canadian press story by Mia Rapson, who I also happen to know, who's another down the middle, objective, just by the facts kind of person. So here's what she's learned. The headline: hundreds of travelers tested positive for COVID-19 variants since the mandatory hotel quarantines implemented. Okay, they tested positive for the variants. We've been hearing about how they've tested positive for, quote, the virus, but we've got specific information. Now, here's what we don't know. Okay, and I want to tell you what we know, and I want to tell you what we don't know. Data is not available to show if those passengers who tested positive for variants, hundreds of them, not available. There is no available data. There's no way of knowing if those passengers are believed to have infected anyone after arriving. So we can't say for sure that any of them, or all of them, or most of them, or some of them, we don't know. There hasn't been enough contact tracing. There just hasn't been enough ways of determining that. Now, Mia Rapson can't tell you this because she's an objective down-the-line reporter. But there's an advantage to us doing what we're doing. I'm a commentator. I'm allowed to take what I see and distill it through my common sense lens.
And I'm a DJ. I get to remix it and make you say stupid shit you never said and get you in trouble for it. No.
That if hundreds of people have arrived with the variant, that after they left the hotel,
a lot of time he was the DJ, now he's the MC.
It's entirely possible that at least some of them may have spread the virus.
Oh, it is incredibly
likely.
And
the idea that they were in quarantine for a few days doesn't tell me that they had no more virus in them when they left. Once again, I'm just going by my common sense here. I can't just look at a story like this and pretend I don't know what I do know. I do know that people live a life. They want to engage in activities. They're coming here to do things.
What the great Girls guy said.
People, for the most part, many of them are Canadians coming home. The idea that hundreds of them are coming into this country with the variant and that none of them would be spreading the variant, that just doesn't make any sense. Besides, we wouldn't have spread in Canada of the variant, which we do, which is why we've got the third wave, if people didn't bring it into the country. Now, look, I know if you're working for the government, I get the line, the federal government.
Yes, we would. We would have our own Canadian variants. You know what Canada has? Every phenotype on the planet.
Travel. So even if that's true, it doesn't matter. Because that 1% is spreading it to everyone else. And of course, once people get the variant, they spread it to others. So the people who are getting it and spreading to others, they didn't come in to Pearson or to Calgary International or to Vancouver International or Justin Trudeau, his dad, Pierre Trudeau, the airport, Montreal Trudeau Airport, named after his dad, the 4 airports where we're getting international travelers. It doesn't matter how many of them brought in the variant. Once they brought it in and spread it to others, all of those others make up that so-called 99%. So I've never seen this. I've never seen the point of arguing about whether technically 1% are bringing it in or 99% are bringing it in. I mean, it's an irrelevant argument.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the 1% bringing it in, you wouldn't have the 99%.
Well,
I'm pretty sure even a kid in grade 6 understands that.
It depends what point you're trying to make.
So data supplied to the Public Health Agency of Canada shows that between February 22nd and April 22nd of this year, okay, the last couple of months, February, March, April. 557 international air travelers tested positive for a so-called variant of concern. Most of them, 518 cases, the B117 variant first identified in the UK, which is the dominant variant in Canada. Another 27 tested positive for the variant first identified in South Africa. 12 tested positive for the variant identified in Brazil. The virus's mutations become so-called variants of concern when they're confirmed to spread more easily, causing more severe illness, or be resistant to known treatments or vaccines. Data is not available to show if those passengers are believed to have infected anyone after arriving.
Wow.
But at some point, this is still the Canadian press story, at some point, all of those variants arrived in Canada via travelers and then spread. So now, there are almost 95,000 confirmed cases of the B117.
Only so much of this I could take.
Okay, and that's the UK variant, the so-called British variant or UK variant.
We got the intro.
95,000
right?
confirmed cases.
The news update.
And then you've got 578
Germany,
cases
China doing their
of the B1351 and more than 2,000 of the B1. So we've got the UK variant confirmed, we've got the South African variant confirmed, and we've got the Brazilian variant confirmed. All of them are here.
What about
and
the
it doesn't
double
matter how many
hybrid
original people spread it.
Or whatever.
The originals spread it to others, and it keeps spreading. And that's what we're dealing with right here. But for those people who tell you that borders don't matter, because only a small percentage of the people with the virus came in from the outside, it's the most absurd statement that you could ever hear. You actually have to dumb yourself down to the ankles.
Truck is wrong on this one.
To take that statement
He's
seriously.
Completely right. No, he's
That's
completely
my
wrong.
political comment, okay?
Yeah, but
Call
he's
it a
retarded.
political comment if you want.
26,000 people came through that were exempt.
Common sense. I'm going to open up the phones at this point.
So, any essential travel you can cross by land. If you're returning home to Canada, you cross by land. Even if you're a dual national from some other country, if you hold Canadian citizenship, they cannot deny you entry. 26,000 essential workers who are exempt from quarantine and all that shit landed at Pearson in the, I don't know, let's say since January till now, and then plus a few thousand more. See, then there's the truck drivers. There's all the people that are claiming to drive to Alaska. You can enter Canada to drive to Alaska, and they say you're supposed to try to, you should try to pay with a debit card when you buy gas at the pump, and I avoid talking to people and shit. But they're allowed to drive right through. There's a section of Washington that's hanging off of BC. The landmass is BC, but the piece sticking out is technically classified as Washington. These people can't get food or anything. They can't cross they have to cross the border to do anything, whether to go into Washington or Vancouver. Everything they do would normally be in BC. It's not considered essential. You know what I know? You wave a gun at a CBSA agent, their orders are to step back and let you walk through and notify the local authorities. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you there's been a number of times that shit's happened. It's made the news. If somebody waves a gun at the CBSA agent, they're ordered to fucking back off and let the person through and notify the local police. They're freaking college students and shit, and averaging 90 days on the job and so forth. On both sides of the fucking border. Yet he thinks stopping people that are Indian from getting on the plane will stop the problem. He's pretending he's not racist. We don't know, because hypothetically, maybe it's possible if you're vaccinated. No, it's known. The vaccine makes it so that instead of being symptomatic, you will be asymptomatic. You will still contract the virus, get infected, everything else. Your cells will fight it up. You won't technically develop coronavirus disease, but it's the COVID-19 virus. They named the virus after the disease. Think about that. That's backwards. Usually it's the other way around. Oh. bother with this. That's gonna take fucking hours. Let's do this.
Real hard, bitch, I hustle real hard. Bitch, you hustle real smart. Bitch, you hustle once a week.
Keep it up, Chomo. Keep it up. Keep it up. But apparently Chomo's so smart, he's outguessed what I'm going to do next. I'm waiting for the machine to do something close to what it was directed. You're dumping so much data at it that there's no fucking clear sense of what's supposed to be happening here.
Real hard, bitch, I hustle real hard. Bitch, you hustle real smart. Bitch, you hustle once a week.
You are fucking stupid. You are fucking stupid. So, just a quick recap. One of the things that Chomo would do is fuck things up to where I have to press the play pause button about 30 times, then it'll start working again. But that is not what I was just pressing. Not even close. No, but Chomo's got the shit hardwired or whatever. You didn't know what I noticed since the city told them to stop doing the non-essential work? I'm not having these weird power surges to my monitor anymore. Yeah, there's somebody yanking the power wires or banging on my fucking breaker panel or some shit. That's how these methods are. That's how smart they are. That's how smart they are. Yeah, we're gonna sit here and say, I don't know. I guess Chomo method likes the silent. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Motherfucker police always be fucking with me.
Wow.
Everywhere that I go.
4 fucking minutes to respond to what I asked it to do. That's crazy. That's crazy. You're such an incredible hacker, you fucking idiot.
It's a throwback. Yeah.
Hey, remember, I caught him 4 times, twice in a row on 2 separate occasions. Click! And the song changed. And we recorded it. I yelled, you believe what you want, but I yelled click and the song changed.
If you're feeling so depressed, you want to blow out your brain, and you've been to darker places, you won't try to explain, but still you try to keep it moving, that we're probably the same. I used to get high like trucks on lift kits. Then I woke up and I said, fuck this shit. I made a promise to myself, man, rip shit. Slide through your verse like a Tokyo drift kid. From being at the doctor's on pills like please help me, to being on the hospital floor like please kill me. And I ain't scared to die except there's nothing to inherit. And I owe lots of people money, including my parents. I'm trying to sit right, but I have mental interference. Cause I got inner demons that are screaming out my lyrics. And I'm new to this new game with kids out talk shit. That's why I'm writing rhymes that even they can't fuck with. Let me do a show. Let me catch somebody chuckle. I won't stop until my hands hurt and I got bloody knuckles. Then I'll take this girl and turn that boy into a cuckold. To tell the truth, I ain't fucking with them chuckles. Man, child walks people, man, child looks. I swear to God, I should be dead from all the pills I took, but I'll be okay. When I'm on the mic, I like to speak free. And when man child talks, people, man child thinks. I swear that I am going crazy. I should see a shrink, but I'll be okay. Welcome to Jam Rock, with kids dressed like Uncle and they dance to spank rock. Don't they know that match out fly like Hancock? I'm from Vancouver where the guns go bang rock. Told you that the smaller member zones we can't stop. I'm dangerous like Bangkok. All these little rappers got my fresh up the sandbox. Life a little crazy for me now that I'm bankrupt. A misguided angel breaking out of his handcuffs. Shane felt pain like acid raindrops. So Shane pop pills, they'll make your brain rot. Quit now, I'm back conquering like gangbusters.
Yeah. Hey, yo, Stick. Yo.
As a little kid, I was in the kitchen watching work. With the flyest kick, I was never on no hurt shit. Had the flyest bitch, I couldn't fuck with no hurt shit. Heavy in gymnastics.
Motherfucker police always be.
Oh,
If you rest the team die, know you'll set me high. Lick shots, nigga, rep your block. You ain't a man, yeah, best be holding your tongue. The bloody north where them soldiers is from. If you rep the team die, know you'll set me high. Lick shots, nigga, rep your block. You ain't a man, yeah, best be holding your tongue. The bloody north where them soldiers is from.
3, 5, 7 to Mac 11s, you stepping, cock your weapon and start yelling if you rep 47. I got niggas in the front ready and willing to split you down the middle just like a blunt, so rock but not with me. The Lord will not forgive me for shaking up your kidney, cause you faking and Disney. My niggas lifty and shifty, pissy, Billy, Iggy, Shiggy. We don't give a wiggy what Billy, Millie trying to kill the city like crack in the 80s. I'm ready to burn in Hades. My doctor's infected with rabies, not even my barber can fade me. You niggas is crazy. Fuck up, fight and learn what these challenges do. You can be as cuckoo as you want, I'm unbalanced too. Thanks to the garden, I'm coming to rally you. Massacre splatter you, run you off of your avenue while I laugh at you. The chronic sadistic, demented rushes. My pigment of the appearance igneous, run you up the district.
If you rep the D9, know you'll set me high. Lick shots, nigga, rep your block. You ain't a man, yeah, best be holding your tongue. The bloody north where them soldiers is from. If you rep the D9, know you'll set me high. Lick shots, nigga, rep your block. You ain't a man, yeah, best be holding your tongue. The bloody north where the soldiers is from. Star City where we blast shots. Then in the last block, man mentality, cause all of us niggas stash rocks. Open big game, hawkers and feeling cash crops. Money growing trees, just turning coke, leave the crack rock. Find the block, get a key and keep it padlocked. And it's the animals, watch your dog, jealous trash talk. We pack locks and smoke weed with hair like Sasquatch. Fuck my niggas, dog, your son, think you out of a sandbox. Better yet, I crash your plane, spit on the black box. Because he's highly trained in cocaine, higher than that. Fuck me that hard. You put more clips with instances, same equivalent is a bad nail in the insects ridiculous. Most cats is sweet like licorice. I eat they food fast, smoke niggas similar to cigarettes. You dig me yet? Better catch me, burn the ass up, pull up the burning fast. Me, you colder than the Inuit. You rep the team, die, know you'll set me high.
So about a minute ago, I thought I heard something odd with that train. But yeah, keep it up. Every time my face lines up like this, my neck should get fucked up. My eyes and mouth should be edited. Yeah, over and over and over. We know. It's this. So you've done that about 2,200 times, bro. It's boring. It's boring.
gunshot lick off that
50 drum beating like so 50. I'm Trinidad when my boy smoke a coca. Your homie got hit, he was riding like a chauffeur. Planet of the Apes, I was blood clot coca. Both pop come with a strap, swing off the shoulder. In the coffin, shutting the lid, is giving you closure. You ever get close, something's coming out the holster. People ride the train, they're gonna see you on a poster. We poster, but you never talking when we approach. Get the blind, go online, and now you're doing the most. Kill him in my yard, nigga, like I could host. Didn't notice they pull guns when you thought you could roast. It's a dose. No, you love niggas need some milligrams. Sitting with a milli, he be posting it on Instagram. Dust ass love me selling quarters after kilogram. Chrome polish so good, swear I used the pillow pack, baby. Fried chicken, oxtail gravy. Shaking up the ground like an earthquake in Haiti. Stop trying to rap, it's like how you niggas don't see me. You got it. Rachel said trying to play me. They said I wasn't sick, but I'm sick though. I give you gangster rap, hard calypso. We never stop beating like it's a pit bull. And young boy can't stop squeezing, it got his we with the hammers. Shorty in the kitchen, chicken like Louisiana.
Everybody, my grandma.
I go to sleep with a rifle in my pajamas. I was childish, but my Gambino, no Atlanta.
gunshot for your head top. For ground, nigga. TG.
Man, them niggas that we beefing is so lame. I run with them clips, my gun black and I spit like old days. 4 white boys who let it sing like Coldplay. I sat back and had a flashback on my old way. Like blocker. 30 shots up in the fucking chopper. He got shot but shot back and couldn't see the doctor. Nigga bled out, cause nigga how it's better. Remembering the day my brother got it, couldn't get him. So I went and got a Mac 11, me just go better. And 2 bad light-skinned bitches for the setup. My city getting crazy and nigga. Moms losing their babies. I know the beans have to carry my nigga to a place to get to bury my nigga. Fuck, but since then, we got a couple heads to bury the trigger. Like what I keep a gun for, cause in these streets it's a blood flow. Not to mention links from the gun store. You shouldn't have brought him here. They're catching bodies here. As soon as niggas slap that metal on that bottom here. I need no one, I'll blast it by myself. And I'll keep beating metal till the plastic on them melts. Shoot shots till the pin break. Niggas been fake, and my pocket is that big chain. Shotgun test, and off his body. But I'm a pop gamer. You know me, I'm taking head off his body. Whole shirt looking like ketchup. Fuck, how could it catch up? Found dead at the scene, no need for a stretcher. They wanna see us, boys. Step forward, niggas. I hit him with the 40 and I'm sitting like he's shitting and aiming at his mans. They be standing like they pissing. If you ain't know this clip, hold 33, Scotty Pippen. Who's you? My belly blue steel like it's dripping. Man, the reaper done spoke, the mean blow smoke. And even in the winter, shells ain't up the smoke. I'm trying to make it like Drake did, but I let the brass speak. I ain't have the grassy mixed with no fake shit. My old friends are only humans wrapped in snake shit. Uzi open bolt, no back at me shaking. My white boy been the realest to me, but my niggas always my niggas, and they kill for a fee. So when it comes to me, G, they be killing for free. My nigga own the killing room, probably kill us to leave. I feel you, my nigga. Time can't kill you, my nigga. And if it did, fuck grams, cause you still be my nigga. I hold it down, but that point's proven. With this pound leaving wet like it's joint ruins. I run up on
Yes, Chomo, we know. Every time I look this way, you're gonna hit the button, but you're gonna keep messing up the timing. We know, you're gonna keep fucking up the timing, Chomo, we know.
From the other side, hopping his keys, I pop through with a Glock and tell him drop to his knees. Shoot his head like a balloon, cause I can pop it with ease. Those bullets that you can swallow like popping knees. And my niggas in your crib like they shopping for property. Couldn't believe he do it. Went through that wire, he was faking through it. I heard his words loud and clear, he was speaking fluid. Shots hit his doors, big enough for peeping through it. And his pistol that I can't believe him leaking through it. The old school back and real niggas live again. Witness, how big and pop that every time again. Straight from the side, we spit, man, we living it. Gave back my nine, cause my chain, he was wiggling.
You can play Clyde or Craig Reaper. I always had these inside moves that jump sneakers. There's many hidden messages, baby, it gets deeper. In the morning, dirt, cause like Alicia. You know they do this shit just quiet. I'm upset like a light skin. The hype man got smoke, cause I hype them. Really like, y'all ain't got the right pen. Your phone say you writing, just don't let the right way, swear she disliking. I'm sliding in like a TDM. 3 niggas strapped up, riding in BMs. Fabio coming through, taking a long go. If I'm home with you, don't now you know that's the reason why I'm fuck with you. Except for every day I used to roll with Kevlar. Used to kill kings, now I'm hunting nights to the Templar. Had a scope on top for the race, for them bullets cap fire. When the trap hill dog, that's what you need in the vet for. While we still connect, trapping out this shit side. They won't win, I'm Vince McMahon, the air gunshot. And gunshot lick out, it's burning like hot ties. The party get dropped out, streets get locked out. All niggas wax, where the mob gets you knocked out. That boy got shot in his back, he tried to walk out. You niggas wasn't fit for the grind, they better know now. These niggas stood tall like grass and got mowed down. These niggas stood tall like grass and got mowed down.
DJ Skynet, wagwan. Yes, every time I look up, I want it to freeze up. I wanted to do that every time I look up. Like a split second after.
Hope you and those dear to you are well and stay well. We'll all you. Like so many of us in this time of COVID, Nalasid and Damasid are stranded, in their case in the rooms in St. John's. The remains of this Beothic man and woman returned from Scotland just before the lockdown, 200 years after the Great
Wagwan. Yes, keep every time I look directly at the screen on your fucking weird predicting. See, every time you hit it, I'm in some other weird pose, bro. You haven't noticed that? The trigger's always exactly the same. Me looking at the screen makes you go fucking ape shit, eh? Wow. Yes, we can see you. Come on, hurry the fuck up. Why does it take 8.5 fucking minutes to run your script, buddy? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Jesus Christ, man. So we got the world's worst wannabe hacker trying to attack us here. Are you done? Holy shit, dog. Keep it up. So every time I look towards the screen, it's gonna freeze up. But if I time it right, I get to look at me in the weirdest of poses. Yeah, keep it up. Keep it up. So what did I click on last? Oops. Oh, this is good. So
I need your help, of course. When did that happen? About an hour ago. 2 men held it up. They shot the teller and made off with 2.
Oh, there. So it's now taken about 3 hours to smoke a joint. I'm supposed to feel bad that pedophiles don't like me. Okay, keep it up. Are you fucking done? Yes, every time I look this up. Why aren't you also doing the editing? Why aren't you also editing the fucking thing, man? Why aren't you also editing the photo when you show it to me? What happened to that script? Keep it up. Keep it up. I still am not pressing any buttons, though. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, man. That's sickening. Yeah. Every time I look up, he's trying to time it. I'm supposed to be looking at like me with my eyes closed or some shit. Oh, dude, this is boring as hell, dog. Like, and every time this happens, what do? I set the joint down and finish it later. So what was the purpose? What exactly was the purpose of this? If I keep pressing the button and it eventually starts working, then you're not a hacker. It's that simple. What is that time? What are you clicking on? Because it's not the same thing I'm clicking on and know it. Because when I click, it don't make no noise. But every time you do, it does tonight for some reason.
Back into the States, if you are coming from the States at least.
You have to be tested in the last before you get to the border. That's the way it works. We don't know if 100% of those tests are accurate. We don't know how many of them may be bogus. In recent weeks, we've had lots of reporting about bogus tests overseas. I'd like to believe that there are no mistakes. I want to believe the government. Difficult to perforate the system. I want to believe all of those things because I want us to be safe. So I don't want to give you the impression.
So what did Chomo come?
Trail a short way, but when they got
picking.
Do you think he'll be able to pick up?
You've responded exactly as predicted. 2,000 some odd times how many times you did it in each video?
This is your cabin.
Yes. That's your team, Constable. Stop at my cabin and get mine, too. Not telling how long we'll have to trail those crooks. King, come back here, boy.
For the moment, Sergeant Preston called King back. Then the two Mounties went to the constable's headquarters, where the constable got his dog sled. Within a short time, they were ready to follow King on the trail of the bank robbers.
There. I'm ready to start now, Sergeant. Good. We know now that the crooks took the trail that passes my cabin. All right, King. Now you can go, boy. Find them, King. Find them. Good, Dave.
Right. Much, you must take. A short time later, Sergeant Preston and the constable approached Preston's cabin where they had left Whitey.
There's your cabin, up just ahead. Oh, that's good. What? The door's open. King saw the door open and came in. Whitey's gone.
I guess you managed to unlatch the door somehow.
Yeah. Can't imagine where Whitey might have gone. I felt sure by this time she'd try to find King. She did get out.
I should think so, but we didn't see her on the way up here.
That's true.
And now King's liable to follow her scent instead of the crook, Sergeant.
King thinks a lot of Whitey. King! Hey!
Yeah, but why would you think the dog wasn't with the crooks?
King's running up the trail.
Yes, for you. The first time he's disobeyed me. I'll follow him. We don't know for sure now that he's following the crooks. We do know they've got a trail. Come on, I'll harness my team.
Distance, King followed Whitey's scent up the trail. Then he stopped and stood for a moment whining. The intelligent dog instinctively knew he had done wrong to disobey his master's command. Now he was undecided between his desire to find Whitey and the result of the long training that taught him to obey Sergeant Preston. He looked up trail a moment and then gave a long, mournful howl. Then, turning dejectedly, he started slowly back along the trail to find his master. A short time later, he heard the dog teams coming and saw Sergeant Preston and the constable in the distance. King must have lost Whitey's scent.
No, I don't think so. He knew he disobeyed me. Find those men, King. Find them. On, you husky!
What's there? As time went on, the storm increased in intensity, and the snow fell heavily, slowing the progress of the two crooks, Chuck and Bill.
Chuck, I gotta take it easy. I can't keep up this pace. We're going slow enough as it is because of this storm. We hope to get through to Whitehorse. We gotta push on while we can. Keep for traveling. Let me get on this. doing? The dogs have all they can do now to pull the sled. With you on it, we might get caught up with if anyone is trailing.
Chuck, wait, I turned my ankle. Wait.
That's your hard luck, Bill. I can't waste time with you. Anyway, I can use your share of that rope.
No.
Must you?
Chuck, wait, please. Come back, Chuck. No.
As Chuck went out of sight along the trail, Bill slowly got to his feet. The sobs of fear that started to rise in his throat were overpowered by the anger he felt against Chuck.
Dirty double-crosser. I'll get through somehow. I'll get back at him if it takes me a lifetime. My ankle. I can rest a little weight on it. I have to keep moving. I might freeze to death if I don't. Oh. Food. Chuck has the food. I have to find a cabin before I starve.
With slow, painful steps, Bill limped along the snow-packed trail. Gradually, the snowfall lightened, and then stopped altogether. In spite of the pain, the man moved slowly along.